In this video, I'm going to talk to you about Laravel's service container. And this is going to be probably a multi-part series because there's a lot of things that you can do with Laravel's service container. But I want this first video to be about how to conceive this. And we're talking about theory, high-level things. Because there's a lot of people that are just coming to learn Laravel, and there's some that have been using it for a little bit, and there's some that have maybe held back from trying to work with this service container because it could seem intimidating, because it is a juggernaut. But it's like when you're a kid and you went to play at the sandbox, and there was like that one kid was way big and you're scared of him. In the end, the IOC container is the gentle giant. Let's just think of it that way. So theoretically, the service container is think of it like a toolbox. And a toolbox has to have tools in it, right? But the toolbox can have drawers that when you open them, they have a certain set of tools that do a specific thing for a specific purpose. And they can be tools that are used individually, or they could be tools that are combined together to do something really, really amazing, right? Well, now that we have tools in a toolbox, we have to be able to tell Laravel, well, this is the problem I'm solving. So I need to resolve something out of that container, the toolbox that I'm talking about. Because the word resolve means to solve a problem. And what is code? It's nothing but solving problems. So when you sit there and say, hey, Laravel, I need to do this one thing, Laravel then goes, hey, we're going to go into the toolbox, and I'm going to go get what you want, and I'm going to give you anything extra that it takes to make it possible, and then I'm going to give it back to you for your use. And sort of the way you can think of this is, let's say we're talking about a drill. And let's say the problem that we're trying to solve is that we need to drill a hole. Well, if you can imagine, there's a lot of parts to a drill. You got the motor with the trigger on it. You got the drill bit, you got the little thing that tightens it so the bit doesn't fall out, and then you got the little battery on the bottom, and when you pull the trigger, it goes zoom, zoom. And you can think about the execution of your application. That's the life cycle saying, okay, the drill is turned on, we pull the trigger, it starts to spin the drill bit, we push it into the wall or whatever it is we're drilling a hole into, we pull it back out, we let go, and we're done with it. And technically, when you're done with it in Laravel, it's almost like Laravel took it apart and put it back in the toolbox. That way, whoever comes along and needs it can get to it. And that's the way you have to sort of look at the toolbox. Now, the beautiful thing about Laravel is that if you've ever seen a mechanic shop, not all the tools are in the toolbox. You got tools kind of hanging on the side. They're kind of scattered everywhere, but you know where to go get it. You see what I mean? And so you could kind of think of Laravel as knowing where all the tools that you have are, but sometimes you got to tell it what you want. Have you ever had a family member who used to make tools for little things? Sometimes the tools for one thing, and so if they say, "Hey, Jordan, go get me the tool," and you bring them the wrong tool, no, that's the wrong tool. Well, sometimes you got to be more specific, and that's when you really have to start becoming intimate with the service container. Now, Laravel's container is comprised of service providers. And the reason you need a service provider is because this is what allows you to work with the container so that you can do custom things within the framework. Because unless you're only doing concrete implementations, if you're using things where you have to resolve interfaces, you have to work with the container to tell it what to give you, what, where, and when. And so this is what gives Laravel the flexibility to be the great framework that it is. And I don't want to be making like a bombastic statement by any means, but if it wasn't for the service container, Laravel likely could not be the great framework that it is today. Now, the concept of containers is nothing new to Laravel. This has been done by other frameworks, but Laravel has done a really good way of doing this, working also along with Composer to make this a powerful and fast process. And hopefully I have done a good job in describing this. If I have, please leave me a comment, because this was a hard one to talk about at such a high level. As you can imagine, as engineers, we are very, very passionate about the tiniest of details because to us those things really mean something. And sometimes in order for us to talk about this at a higher level, we have to trim some of that information out. So we in the next video I'll do, we're going to start getting kind of deeper into actually working with the container, getting into the code. But I want to make this video to kind of get your mind started before we get into that second video. And before the second video is watched, I encourage you to go to Laravel's documentation and read about the service container. And I think once you read it after watching this video, that when the next video comes out, you'll know exactly what to do. Sorry for the dogs. I'll see you tomorrow.